Okay, so this is a video on solving equations using the distributive property. And we want to use the distributive property whenever we see a parenthesis where something is multiplied. There's a number right in front of the parenthesis. We want to remember to use the distributive property. Okay, so I have two examples for you. The first one is 5 plus 3 times the quantity x minus 2 equals 44. Okay, so multiplication comes before addition. So you want to make sure that when you see this 5 plus 3, you remember that the 3 is held to this parenthesis by multiplication, and that comes before addition. You don't want to add these two numbers together. This is the biggest mistake students make, is adding these two together and getting 8. Okay, what you want to do first is distribute the 3 to both terms in the parenthesis. Okay, so when I distribute the 3, I bring down the 5 plus 3 times x is 3x, and then 3 times a minus 2 is going to be a minus 6. Okay, so step 1 is the distributive property. Okay, step 2, I'm going to be looking for like terms. Okay, remember that like terms have the same variable and same exponent. We don't have any exponents to worry about here. We will later in the year. But we need the same variable and same exponent to have like terms. And like terms we can combine. So the like terms we have here are actually the two constants, 5 and negative 6. Those are on the same side, so I can just combine those. So 5 and negative 6 is going to be negative 1, okay, plus 3x equals 44. Okay, now I need to get the x by itself. There's a 3 and there is a negative 1. Okay, whenever I want to move a whole term, like this negative 1, I'm going to use addition or subtraction. Okay, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides because it's a negative 1. That's going to cancel out the 1. Okay, and I'm making sure that I'm adding it on both sides of my equal sign. Okay, so this cancels and I'm left with 3x equals 45. And what we did there was the addition property of equality. Okay, now I have a coefficient on my x still, right? It's 3 times x. 3 is the coefficient. To cancel out a coefficient, we're going to divide both sides by 3. Okay, my answer is 15. That was the division property of equality. You don't need to write down all the properties. I just want you to be able to recognize them. Okay, and then remember, our last step is we want to check our answer. Okay, so I'm going to put it back into the original. 5 plus 3 times 15 minus 2 equals 44. When I go to check it, I don't have to use the distributive property anymore because we know what 15 minus 2 is, right? 15 minus 2, 13. Okay, and then 3 times 13 is 39. And 5 plus 39 is, in fact, 44. So it checks. Okay, so we're going to look at one more example. This example is a little trickier because there's subtraction happening. Okay, so this example is 5a minus the quantity 3a plus 8 equals 22. Okay, and whenever I see minus and then a parenthesis, I like to put a 1 in here. Okay, because this is really like there's a minus 1 being multiplied in front. So I'm going to change this to plus and negative. Okay, and I'm going to remember that this negative is going to get distributed to everything in the parenthesis. Okay, so I changed my negative to, I changed my minus to a negative 1. Whenever you see a minus in front of parentheses, that gets distributed. Okay, so my first step is to distribute a -1 to both terms in here. Okay, -1 times 3a is -3a. -1 times 8 is -8. Okay, so that was the distributive property. Okay, now I'm going to look for like terms. Okay, so on my left side, oh geez, I just wrote like, sorry. Like terms, and when you're looking for like terms, remember, you're looking for like terms on the left side or the right side. Okay, we're not moving things across the equal sign at this point. So on the left side, I have two terms that have an a, and then there's nothing to combine with this 8. And on the right, we just have one term. So I'm going to do 5a minus 3a, which is 2a. Okay, next up we want to solve for a. So we have a 2 coefficient, we have a term here of -8. You always want to move whole terms first. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. The -8 and the +8 cancel. I make sure I do it on both sides of my equal sign. Bring down the 2a. 22 plus 8 is 30. Okay, that was the addition property of equality that I just did. Okay, I'm abbreviating. Okay, and then I have a 2 coefficient. We get rid of a coefficient by dividing or multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, in this case I'm going to divide by 2. And I find that a is 15. Goodness, was that the answer in the first one too? Look at that. Because I had 15 on the mind. Okay, so division, property of equality. All right, last step. Don't forget to check your answer because it's easy to make a mistake on these. Okay, so 5a, 5 times 15 minus, remember everywhere there's an a, I'm going to replace it with a 15. Okay, and I don't have my calculator, so let's see. 5 times 15. 4 times 15 would be 60 plus another would be 75. Okay, there we go, 75 minus 3 times 15 is 45. I know that one. Okay, and then 45 plus 8 is going to be 53. And 75 minus 53 is 22. So it checks. Okay, and we're done. All right, so go ahead. What you're going to do is try the 6 problems on the worksheet. And then you're going to check your answers.